Adam and Clara fumbled forward. Their harrowing adventure had left a mark on them, but they couldn't just sit still and do nothing. They had followed the road up into the mountains as snow descended on them. It was cold and they were shivering. The crunch of snow drew the gaze of the two adventurers. Moving through the snowstorm was a large figure covered in thick fur. They froze as it approached them. Welcome to Mythical Phylogeny Adventures. I'm your guide, Jason. Today, we turn our attention to the Yeti. Let's see if we can brush off some of the snow on such a legendary beast. The Yeti comes from Tibetan mythology. It is said to roam the Himalayan mountains. In the West, they are also called the abominable snowman. They are said to be like a bipedal ape with dense fur. The color of the fur is debated, white or black being the most common, but brown, gray, and reddish colors are also mentioned. They are often called mountain men or wild men, and they have a couple dozen different names throughout the region, some adding descriptions of height, normally 8 to 15 feet tall, 2.4 to 4.6 meters tall, and living at 8,000 to 10,000 feet, or 2,400 and 3,000 meters above sea level. They are also said to walk around or swing through the trees as they choose. Within Tibetan mythology, the Yeti isn't a monster. It is the personification of nature, its guardian. Their ferocity is that of nature itself, and to show respect to nature is to respect the Yeti. Sorry, but I'm going to mispronounce some of this. I couldn't find good pronunciations for some of this. Sorry. In the Mani Koboom, part of the Tibetan creation myth, it says that humans are the descendants of a rock orgus named Sinmo, who was the reincarnation of Drolma, a god of mercy in Buddhism. She would meet and fall in love with a monkey who was the reincarnation of Chenrizig, the god of compassion. From them would come 6 children, one for each of the original Tibetan tribes. Originally, these children did have tails and were hairy, but those traits were lost across the generations. Yet some of the descendants maintained their fur, and they were the Yeti. Now, Yetis aren't evil. They are intelligent and have morals. The monk Sengui Dorji had a Yeti which brought him food, supplies, water, and wood, and in time, even went so far as to become the monk's disciple. Yes, there was a Yeti which practiced Buddhism, though the Yeti would pass before the monk did, and the Yeti's scalp and one of his hands were preserved and are used in ceremonies and fertility rituals. Oh, and these same monks have manuscripts which say that Yeti blood can be used in potions. This isn't the only tale of a Yeti in a shrine. A shrine to Pandan Lamo, deity of protection, was said to have a group of Yetis come and tend to the shrine every night while the people were asleep. They would clean and restock everything for the next day. Another tale of a monk, or yogi, came as he was traveling and suffered from a bad bout of gout in his foot, forcing him to stop for a few days. While alone, he noticed a Yeti coming and going from a shack. But after a week, he stopped. Our monk got curious and snuck up to the shack and found the Yeti sick with a bad infection in his own foot. The monk would clean and tend to the wound before creeping away. Oh, and the Yeti was awake. Sick, but awake, and knew everything. Shortly after, when the monk was also healed up, the Yeti turned up and offered him a tiger, whose pelt he made an offering of at the temple. Overall, this paints a picture of a very intelligent creature, not some savage beast. This suggests that they are a splinter group off of the phylogenetic tree with humans. Now, they are said to stand and walk erect, and we can use this to pinpoint when they diverge from humans. It is believed that the first primate to walk erect was Sahelanthropus tigensis. What, you thought I was going to say Homo erectus? Which lived about 2 million years ago. Well, that one is hairless, so it doesn't work. Now, tigensis lived about 7 million years ago, but there were earlier primates which could walk erect, but still use their arms heavily. Genetically, a human and Yeti would probably be around 99% genetic match, which could potentially make genetics a bit difficult. Now, chimpanzees diverged from humans around 10 to 13 million years ago, and are 98.8% genetic match to humans. But what about the Sasquatch? Is the Yeti and Sasquatch the same thing? Well, for the most part, yes. There are a few differences, but the big one is different continents. So we could have the same thing as with humans, and the Sasquatch and Yeti are just two different ethnicities of the same species, or just close relatives. But could the Yeti exist on Earth and not be discovered? Well, it is a primate, on par with humans, a species which currently numbers around 8 billion. Yeah, there is nothing stopping it from existing. Just take a human and thicken up the hair, adjust the size, and you can make a Yeti. And they live in the Himalayan mountains, which has humans and monkeys living in them. So, pretty simple. Yet, to not be discovered, that is a bit tough. The Himalayas are tough mountains to be sure, but could a population go undiscovered? Well, probably not. They would need enough food and room, so low chance of going undiscovered. We may never know the true answer though. Overall, I'm going to say that the Yeti is a neutral good race. We don't know much of their civilization, but they usually aren't hostile and can work with humans. Now, what would happen if you get into a fight with a Yeti? Well, they are strong. One which was on the mend brought down a tiger, a powerful predator. That right there tells us how strong they can be. Sure, we don't know how it pulled it off. We know they are smart. They can run a shrine all on their own. But there is something you need to take in here. They maintained it. That means repairs and cleaning. We also know one which brought wood to a monk. That suggests the use of tools. Yes, I wouldn't put it past a Yeti to use weapons. Thankfully, that isn't usually mentioned. But they could have weapons, and potentially their own armor. Even without that, they are said to be mountain guardians. They are strong. Nowhere have they been said to have claws, but they got fists. They can punch and grapple, and that should be enough. If they can swing from tree branches, they need the grip strength to hold their weight for a while. Try it. Grab a pull-up bar and see how long you can hang. Add in swinging, and we are looking at a lot more strength. So, if they can throw a punch, and I'll get to that in a minute, it will hurt. Your armor will need padding. Having a sturdy helmet on at the very least. Plate will offer the best protection against blunt force attacks. If it grabs you, you'll need to go for the hands, chest, and throat. The same weak points that a human has. As for weapons, the Yeti is bigger than you, and will have reach. So I would choose longer weapons. Spears, halberds, and great swords being ideal. If you have something shorter, you will want to focus on flanking. While the Yeti has always avoided arrows in the stories, it wouldn't be a bad option. It gives you range. But do they have range? They probably could learn to use a bow. But the real question is throwing. That is actually one of humans' greatest evolutionary advantages over other primates. Yes, a chimpanzee or gorilla can throw, but nowhere near the accuracy or precision of a human. It is believed that the ability to throw accurately developed about 2 million years ago, or about 5 million years ago after Genesis existed. So it is debatable. Be careful with it. I mentioned throwing fists, and that is an important thing to talk about. Yeti have run shrines, and one was even a practitioner of Buddhism. So there is the chance that the Yeti could have a class like an adventurer. The cleric and monk both sound like strong options. Wouldn't you agree? Additionally, due to their role as mountain guardians, a ranger sounds perfect also. And I don't know if they can learn magic. Generally, it would be safe to assume that if a human can do it, they probably can learn it too. Overall, the Yeti is pretty much just a bigger human. While the stories don't talk about them using weapons, it wouldn't be impossible for them to learn. Overall, this is going to be an uphill battle. Thus, I am going with a 4 of 10 for difficulty. Good luck. But most hells of the Yeti aren't hostile. Only those who are a problem for the mountain evoke their fury. Most of the time, they are neutral to friendly. They help those that are lost. They will repay your kindness in turn. You help them, and they will help you. So, could you have one in your party? Oh yes, definitely. One of them lived and worked with a monk for years. Others ran a temple. They can easily integrate with humans. Sure, we have to get past the language barrier, but that is possible. You don't need to be able to speak a language, only understand it. Just look at Chewbacca in Star Wars. He speaks Wookiee, but understands the common tongue. Now, like I said earlier, the Yeti would probably serve as your party's ranger, monk, or cleric, depending on its history. The Yeti led the adventurers through the mountains. They could barely see it in the snow, but it made sure not to lose them. Only when they reached an old abandoned cabin did they split apart. The Yeti guided them inside where Adam lit a fire. Their gentle guide didn't stay inside, but gave an encouraging smile as it left them alone for the night. Alone, they held each other close to ward off the cold. The Yeti aren't evil monsters that they are often shown as. No, more of gentle giants. Someone that you could work with if you are willing to put in the work. Thank you for watching, adventurers. Please return next time for Manan Anargol. Until then, I'll see you on the roads.